Hey everyone, welcome to this edition of our weekly Missions Roundtable. We are your MTW West Coast hub, and as always, we have our fearless leader, Mr. Mike Pettingill. Say hey, Mike.
Hey gang, how's it going?
And then, of course, we have myself, Anthony English, Assistant Director, Mike Pettingill, Scottie Pippen, Ron Weasley, and Han Solo. Unfortunately, we do not have our glue that holds us together, Miss Ali Hazrati, who is currently.
Occasionally we call Anthony my Chewbacca, but that's another story.
And we are honored to be with Miss Heidi Harrison, who is the manager of safeguarding and community engagement here at Mission to the World. And we're going to be talking with Heidi today about what she does and how she got involved with Mission to the World. How are you feeling, Heidi?
I'm doing well, enjoying being with you today. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you for joining us. So we'll go ahead and just, people are going to want to know, how did you get involved with MTW?
Well, in many ways, I grew up in and around MTW. My parents were Canadian missionaries on the mission field in Ecuador, where I was born, and he ended up being recruited to come work at MTW when I was in elementary school. So I've spent most of my life in the Atlanta area and worked at MTW in high school and college in the summertime, and they hired me as soon as I graduated. So I've literally been with MTW almost my whole life.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's awesome. Okay. Well, I mean, I think this is the first time I've ever met a career MTW employee. So when you were like in high school, college, what would you do during the summers, during your breaks at Mission to the World?
Essentially anything that needed doing. I helped in the donations department. I helped with filing. I helped with prayer letters, some light correspondence, database stuff. I even worked in IT one summer, which still makes me laugh. So.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, I mean, that's great. So, Mike, any questions?
Yeah, so I'm a big time member of the Heidi Harrison fan club. We'll give her husband and her boys be charter members, but I'm right in there. My fanboy card has got a real low number on there. So I've been a friend and fan of Heidi's for a long time. Heidi, you've done a lot of work in MTW, you've worn a lot of different hats, but talk to us about the ministry that you are working on right now.
Yeah, thank you. I have worn a lot of hats, as you said. In 2019, I moved into my current role as a newly created position at that time. And so I've kind of been making it up as I go along. It came as a result of a third-party assessment that MTW had done, and they recommended as one of their many recommendations to MTW that my position be created. So I have been since then responsible for things like policy for both staff and missionaries, and shepherding it policy through the approval process, doing all the exit interviews for missionaries and staff, basic HR functions, staff recognition, staff worship, but safeguarding as a primary responsibility. And in that role, I report directly to Coordinator Lloyd Kim. And I'm a place where anyone with concerns that have to do with child protection, sexual harassment, financial misconduct, those kinds of things can come and speak with me. And I am responsible to figure out how to respond to that, and together with others, make recommendations on a way forward to address the issue and prevent it from recurring.
So that sounds scary. That sounds, but I think it's really cool that Mission to the World, which is, as everybody who listening knows, is a committee of the Presbyterian Church in America, has essentially put themselves into this position to dig for scary stuff, frankly, stuff that Heidi gets to talk about, stuff that most of us would really pay good money to not talk about. So the word safeguarding I mean, that's a really powerful word right now in, like you said, in child protection and a lot of the other issues that you've interacted with. A lot of people wouldn't think that is an integral part. Like off the face, if you name the top 10 things that a mission organization should be doing, next to nobody's going to list that in the top 10, right? But that's got to be one of the most valuable things to protect the purity and the integrity of our organization. We're not asking to know where the bodies are buried, and we don't want proper nouns, but talk to us about some of the ways that you make the life of the missionary a little bit easier.
Yeah, well, MTW has had more than 20 years of history in child protection before my tenure. And so this is kind of a natural outworking of having a central place to make sure we're responding to those issues consistently. And conducting internal investigations is really member care, if you think about it. It's providing confidence and even training initiatives among our missionaries that these are issues that we take seriously, that we're committed to walking in the light together, that we are going to respond consistently and have consistent safeguards put in place in the wake of them. It's just a place where we can really shape our culture to be a place where we are all part of the same team here, and keeping our eyes open to where misconduct might be taking place. To the extent that we are all vigilant, we are a safer community. And Jesus said, they'll know you are my disciples by the way you love each other. And heading into these issues and confronting them really helps us see where we're falling short in those areas.
So, wow, Heidi, that's you're brave. So give us a again, not looking for names, give us some examples of a hypothetical scenario where a supporting church or a missionary can be in contact with you to make sure that everything is on the right track.
Sure. Not everything that comes on my desk turns into an investigation. There have been referrals to conflict reconciliation ministries. There's been just being a sounding board. There's been opportunities for me to act as an intermediary and an advocate. So any child protection concerns are really important that they come to me and be vetted and looked into as appropriate.
And that's going to be missionary kids or MKs, as
Yes.
well as national partners and
Yes.
folks that we're dealing with. So you're trying to help the missionaries be above reproach in those areas.
Right. Yes. And in an HR capacity, keeping an eye on legal liability as well. It's important to keep our ministry viable in this current day and age. So, that's down the list of priorities, but certainly on the radar.
Wow. And so if you're interacting with the MTW missionaries, right? Would you interact with supporting churches and supporters as well in scenarios like that?
Possibly. We always involve the sending church or presbytery as we look into these matters. I certainly want an elder's eyes on them, helping us assess and make recommendations. And so that's one way we accomplish that. Other times I might involve a church is if they might have witnesses there or documentation, emails, those kinds of things that would help us get to the bottom of what took place or the root. And we certainly ask every participant in these matters to seek out someone, preferably outside MTW, but could be within member care, to walk alongside them confidentially. A very difficult process for both parties in these scenarios. And so I know that sending churches and confidential individuals within sending churches have played a really integral role in helping the parties in the midst of these to really stand up and bear up underneath them, because it is very grueling for both.
So we have Mission of the World has over 700 long-term missionaries and interns and 2-week folks and U.S.-based staff and national partners, and each one of those statistics has a name, and each one of those names has family members and spouses and kids, and so each of those ministries has national partners and people that they're ministering to. I know when we were on the field, we would have, you could say on a given day, we had literally 1,000 people we interacted with, and most of those would be kids. There's a lot of, Satan has a lot of ways to tempt us and to cause us to stumble and to cause us to throw our own ministry to the side. Heidi, does this just, I want to find out, what I'm getting to is how we can be praying for you, but is this just the work that you interact with? Is it heartbreak after heartbreak? Is it just spiritual warfare in your heart at all times? And is it hard to like flip on the computer every morning and get going, or is it something that motivates you and excites you, or is it both?
It's both. I find it to be very meaningful work, and it was work. It's addressing issues that I was privy to, having grown up in and around ministry my whole life, and could only sit on the sidelines and weep. So it's gratifying to feel like I can be part of a solution, or at least addressing it and walking in the light and shining a light in the darkness. But it is something where I pray for strength every time I open my email, not knowing what I'm going to find each day. And there is a lot of mourning involved. For sure. So really blessed recently by a sermon at my church about the Beatitudes, and blessed are they who mourn, for they'll be comforted. And just thinking about being blessed in this role, being what Christ has defined as flourishing in this role is to kind of be a mourner for MTW and the issues that the world, the flesh, and the devil have caused to spill into our people's lives. So certainly have compassion for all the parties that are involved in these difficult matters.
Honestly, I was just thinking, right now there's such a focus on, the scandals that come out in Christian ministry in the church. And we can all think of a variety of church-related, ministry-related scandals. I think your position is very timely, and it's needed, and it's good, because it shows not just the body that we take it seriously, but it shows the watching world that there are ministries who truly do love Jesus and love others, and are willing to do the hard work, the messy work, the sad work, but yet, like you said, the rewarding work of bringing forth justice in issues and cases of abuse. And it's various forms, whether it be, with children, or, with female employees, or with, if there's any acts of racism, that you're someone that they can go to and say, hey, there are issues that we're having. How do we bring about the righteousness of Christ that we're called to embody and to pursue as his people? So I'm very thankful for your role, because like I said, it's a witness to the world and the church that, hey, we do take this seriously because Christ takes this seriously.
Mhm.
Well, the good news is Heidi, you're dealing mostly with Christians, and we know that Christians don't stumble and are perfect. So that's good. Yeah, tongue in cheek. And I'm happy you're doing it, because it not that anyone would want me to take your job, but and not that I encourage this, but the concept of baseball bat therapy comes to mind on some of the issues that you have to deal with, and I'm glad it's you and not me. So, Heidi, as we wrap up, tell us how we can be in prayer for you specifically and the ministry that you're leading, and how we can be in prayer for our missionaries. If let's imagine that we've got someone at a supporting church, or a family who's supporting missionaries, or maybe they're not, they want to know how they can be praying for missionaries. How can folks be praying for you, and how can people be praying for the missionaries that they support or pray for?
Yeah, for me, that I'd be strong in the Lord and his mighty power, and for wisdom, discernment, that I wouldn't be wise in my own wisdom, but in the wisdom that comes from the Lord. For missionaries, the same things that affect the people in the pews affect our missionaries. That's where our missionaries come from. And so, praying, but they're isolated. They don't have the same support structures and access to resources in a foreign environment. And so, certainly for the purity, for their testimony, for them to love one another well, even as they're seeking to love those in the host culture, and that they would be protected from the evil one. So evident in all these relational issues that there's that component as well. So,
well, Heidi, we love you and we thank you, and we appreciate the work that you're doing. And so, Anthony, why don't you go ahead and take us home?
Yeah, listen, guys, if you are interested in mission to the world, you're hearing Heidi speak about this, and you're realizing that MTW does take these things seriously and it's attractive to you, and you're saying, okay, I want to know how I can be involved, maybe how I can pray, how I can send and give, or how I myself can go, or someone I know, or a church, what have you, feel free to click that link. If you're watching on YouTube, it'll be in the description, the Get Started form. If you're on Facebook, it's above the Get Started form. Hit us up there, and then someone in your region will gladly contact you back. Guys, this is your West Coast Hub with our weekly missions roundtable. Thank you again, Heidi. We love you. Mike, I will be seeing you next week, my friend, and we will be all seeing you next week. God bless you guys.
Take care.